Welcome everybody. Welcome again to another EPL Across the Pond. It's our Thursday preview. You're live on Facebook, Instagram, and some other things as well with your host Chris. Gary's away tonight. We do have a special guest. We'll get more to that in a minute. That's going to be taking place as we welcome you to round 37. It's pretty crazy to think we've only got two more rounds of Premier League football to go of the 25-26 season. As always, it's your show just as much as it's our show. If you have an opinion, reach out, tag us in the comments. We'll get you involved on the show if you want to join in. If you've got to want to have your own opinion, let us know what it is. That's what it's all about, right? We all have different opinions. Mine's no better than anybody else's. So if you want to join in, put it in the comments and we'll bring you on the show and have a little chat. Once again, going down the bottom, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you to Numazane, who are our official sponsor of EPL Across the Pond. Go check them out, Enzine10 on Instagram or numazane.com if you're looking for some cool retro T-shirts, soccer T-shirts this summer. You don't just want to have the official sports shirts. You want to have something a little bit cool. Check out Numazane. All right. I promise you, we've got a little guest that's going to come on this evening. I'm going to take you back. The year was 2003. Yes, you probably think I was 4 or 5 years old at that time. Not true. I was a little bit older than that. I made my journey across the United States with Gary, and we had fun. We were working for a US-based company doing some soccer coaching. My roommate, housemate and roommate, who actually shared a floor, I should say, was a young man all the way from England. Good evening, Gareth. How you doing, my friend?
How you doing, Chris?
How'd you like that? How'd you like that little drum roll and a little skibbity?
I mentioned the matching pajamas that we had.
Funny you should say that, Gareth, right? Because you think I'm not prepared, right? You think I'm not prepared. I'm fully prepared. I've got more picks than you care to remember and what you want to play with and stuff. So this is going back. I wish I had that head of hair these days and those sideburns. They're long gone. Gareth and I in a house in Liberty Street. Little Ferry, Liberty Street, if you remember, which is where they filmed The Sopranos, coincidentally. And we pretty much lived in our New York Yankee pajama pants. Gareth with his trademark fruit bowl and cereals that he literally had 24/7. See, I've got more, Gareth. So
I think cereal was all we could afford back then, right? On the UK elite wage.
Cereal but you know what? I'm making a lot more money now, but I seem to have more money in my pocket back then than I do now. I don't know if it's the same for you and stuff.
Yeah, cool bills, right?
So welcome, Gareth. Gareth is a Tottenham fan, and we're going to get more into the Tottenham situation as the show goes on. We've got a lot to get through tonight, obviously with Tottenham being one of them, but I was digging through the old photos, mate, and I just wanted to, share a much. I'm not going to go too much into it, but this is just a night out in Fiddlesticks. Remember that place?
I do, mate.
It's still going. I was actually in the city in January, and that place is still there. It's still cooking along. But we won't reminisce too much about the past because tonight we want to talk Spurs. So as you're the guest of honor on tonight's show and everything's going on and, you're more entwined with Tottenham and everything.
Unfortunately, yes.
Without swearing, what went wrong this year?
I mean, when you look at some of the stats that are out there, are incredible. We've got this beautiful brand new stadium, right? I had the opportunity to go and do the stadium tour when it opened. Incredible stadium. They've won 3 home games in 2025. Isn't that incredible? So you're talking a crossover of 2 seasons,
right?
3 home games. They've won in 2025.
So where did it go wrong? And let's go back. I mean, when Postecoglou was there, obviously, they won the Europa League or Europa Champ, whatever it's called, that trophy, and they just survived relegation that year. And it's a crossroads, right? Do you continue with him in the hope that it's going to get better? We had him at Forest, and it just didn't work out for whatever reason, the style of football. But everything they did when they brought the new manager in and some of the players, on paper, it made sense. When did it start to unravel? It was like, shit, we're in trouble here.
Yeah, I was kind of excited by the Thomas Frank appointment. Seemed like a very methodical coach, played different tactics against different opposition, which was something Postecoglou didn't do. He typically had one way of playing, one style of play, and didn't matter who he was playing against or the personnel he had available to him. He played the same way, which I think was his downfall. Thomas Frank, very adaptable coach. We saw that early on in the PSG game, the Man City game. But then the confidence just, I think, was drained out of the players a little bit when the results started turning against them. And maybe the constant change of tactics was maybe confusing to some of the players.
And it doesn't help being in a bigger stadium with, all those fans and the noise and everything, because as soon as that stadium gets hostile, and I've seen it happen at Old Trafford, I've seen it happen at the Emirates, when almost the fans start turning on the players, you want them to be the 12th men at that point and say, okay, look, we're not playing very well, we're not getting results, but come on, let's get behind the team and keep going. And once that started to change, I think it started to unravel pretty quick after that.
Yeah, no, I think that's part of the problem with the home stadium, because they have this wall behind the goal, where they kind of copied the Dortmund stadium, that yellow wall. And one thing they do on the tour is they test the acoustics, and that whole stadium was built to try and enhance the acoustics from the fans. Right. So the issue you've got now is when they concede a goal, or they win a goal down under Thomas Frank quite often, you could kind of hear the moans and groans and the anxiety from the fans, even more so than maybe at other stadiums. So maybe that's part of the issue with the home games is the acoustics in that stadium and the way the players are reacting to going a goal down in games. I think the players are sensing out in the field, and they're becoming nervous and lacking confidence themselves.
So my view on Tottenham and their downfall, I personally think it happened kind of around the Harry Kane time, and probably similar when Son left, because you had two world-class players who I don't think they really replaced. I mean, Kane's probably irreplaceable in itself, but to lose him, and then the following season after, or was it one season after that Son left, they never replaced those two world-class players. And they were both leaders, they were both captains, and they were both kind of like maybe the voice of the dressing room, the driving force. So they replaced them kind of with potentials, the up and coming players that are not quite there yet, the 23, 24, 25-year-olds that could go into that. Who was, if you're looking around that dressing room, who's the experience or the old head or the guy that's going to be like, okay, this is my team now. Kane's left, Son's left. I'm taking it forward to drive it forward. Was anybody kind of like, did they have someone in mind for that?
I mean, you make a good point. The two players you mentioned were both club captains at one period of time. They're both leaders on the field. I mean, you could say Harry Kane led by example, but he was also a leader. Same with Sonny. When they left, Romero picked up the armband, and I just don't think he had the same influence on the players. So if you look at the timeline, it does coincide with the change of captain as well.
So what happens now then? I mean, there's two scenarios, right? Spurs go down, Spurs stay up. Let's play the latter. Spurs stay up. What does next season? What needs to change for next season so this doesn't happen for 3 seasons on a bounce?
I mean, recruitment. Their recruitment's been terrible the last couple of seasons. So they got to get the plan staff and the recruitment side of things settled. I think there's a lot of players, a lot of deadwood that needs to be shifted out of that team. Hopefully, De Zerbi will have an idea of who they are. And I think right now, if you look at the playing staff, we lack a goal scorer. I mean, Solanke can't stay fit. Richarlison is hot and cold. And like you said, we never replaced Harry Kane, who scored the majority of our goals.
Because there was
I don't know where you'd find a player like that. If you finish where we finish in the league, or even go down. So that's going to be the challenge.
Because there's an argument on one of our competitor shows, The Overlap, but they were talking about. I think it was Roy Keane made the comment of, Spurs never broke the bank in terms of paying people big wages. Yeah. But there's something like 5th or 6th on the Premier League wage scale. So is it they've just got a lot of dead wood, or they've just, because if they're not paying individuals big money, maybe they're playing a lot of people okayish money, and that adds up pretty quick.
Yeah, I think part of that issue is the wage structure they had in place under Levy. So that meant that they weren't going out and getting their first, second, or sometimes third choice player. So they were getting in a player that, kind of fit the mold, but wasn't really the first choice. So now that player evidently didn't fit into the team makeup, didn't perform to the level that he was required to, and now that player is surplus to requirements. If you look at the squad, there's a lot of those players in that team. If we went out and got our first choice players, I think you're looking at a very different team. This season alone, if you look at some of the targets that we were like discussed, was Eze. Eze was a big target from pre-season all the way through till I think game week 5 or 6, and we just took so long getting that deal over the line that Arsenal jumped in and picked him up. Eze would have been a fantastic addition to that team.
So heavy Kev, what happened to Gallagher? He was epic at Palace. Now we hardly hear about him.
Yeah, I mean, Gallagher, I thought was going to be a good addition, but I feel like when he came in under Thomas Frank, he kind of played him very defensive. There was times he even put him out wide. I think Gallagher played there for Chelsea or Madrid.
He's more of a box-to-box type player, right? He's more of a box-to-box type player.
He is. He's a box-to-box midfield player, and I think he's being used there under De Zerbi, and we're seeing the best of him now. But yeah, he wasn't used correctly under the previous managers.
So let me ask you this. Obviously, we're kind of the same age. In our lifetimes, you've never had the pleasure of seeing Tottenham go down. I've witnessed my team go down several times in my lifetime and stuff. Yeah. And it sometimes is good. I know it's hard to kind of comprehend of it. When Forest went down last, I didn't think it'd be 20 odd years before they went back up. If Spurs do go down, what's going to happen? What's going to be the main changes that's going to happen within the club? Because a couple of years ago when Newcastle went down, and even the Villa, I thought it'd be a good thing for those clubs because you can really clear off the deadwood. There's a lot of contracts that get cancelled because there's relegation clauses and all that kind of side of things. The wage structure automatically drops 25%, so you don't get dinged paying people full salaries. Then you find the real people who want to play for Spurs. You find the real people that are like, okay, it could be youth players. It could be foreign players that are like, okay, this is the club I want to go for, and I'm going to be here for the rebuild. And sometimes when you have that rebuild, you come back up and you're even stronger than you ever were before. So if you go down, what's the magic to come back up? Do you keep the coach?
I don't know. I mean, you are going to see a lot of those players leave. You're going to see a lot of the elite players leave. I think Van der Ven, Romero, those players are going to want to leave. I mean, they're already being touted to leave as it is. So I think there's going to be a lot of first team players will move on. I think you'll see a lot of the young players in the squad, like Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall. I think those players will get more playing time and become maybe important first team members of the squad, which could make or break them. Even the goalkeeper right now, Kinski, who's coming for Vicario, I think he'll be first choice. I think Vicario will be another player looking to move on. So you'll see a lot of the younger players, I think, come into the fold. But I think when you go down into the Championship, and you'll know this better than me, you do need some experienced players in there as well, and it's a grind, right? The big thing that Spurs have lacked is in the midfield. They don't really have anyone that's going to go out there and bust a gut for the team. So they might have to bring in a few experienced heads into that team as well, because it's going to be a grind.
It's a challenge. You've got an extra 10, 15 games just of the league. The league schedule's not very kind. There's just animals in there that want to, make a point of playing against Tottenham. Let's put a tackle in. Let's do that.
Let's do something on him, right? Yeah, it's going to happen.
And it's hard. It's a different way of playing. I've watched a lot of the Championship this year because now in the States, Paramount show a lot of the Championship games. So I've been watching Coventry a lot. Coventry just walked the league, but it's a complete different style of football than they're going to be playing in the Premier League. So they've got to now adjust to the Premier League with different tactics, different styles. You need a goal scorer to get out of that league in the Championship. Yeah. You need someone who's going to bang in 30 goals, 25, 30 goals. You're just not going to get promoted if you've got a really good team and you're winning games 1-0, 2-0. You've got to have someone that's going to score the goals for you. I don't think Spurs have to be worried so much in terms of the revenue they'll lose if they went down, because there is that, parachute year. Spurs do okay. They've got deals with the NFL. They've got deals with matchroom boxing, and all that kind of side of
Beyonce's
things.
there every other week, right? Yeah, so they've definitely got a good
They'll
revenue
capture
stream there.
revenue in some ways, shapes or form, and everything, because it is one of the premier stadiums in the world at the minute. But it's that situation. If you don't come straight back up, without getting too much into it, that's when it gets ugly.
And you've seen it. I mean, there's teams that have gone down that haven't bounced back, and then I mean, Leicester getting relegated again, like
right.
that. I mean, that could happen. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
So it's a scary thought. There's no guarantee if you go down, you're going to come back up.
No, and the good thing with Tottenham is they have the owners, they have the money. So I don't think they have to worry, because you look at teams like Sheffield Wednesday, finance issues, Leicester, finance issues, West Bromwich Albion, had many a season in the Premier League, finance issues that really struggle to keep going and stuff. And I said this to Gaz a few times. My unpopular opinion is I still think there's too many football league teams in the Football League. 92 teams can't turn a profit and can't keep going. It's just not sustainable. Yeah. I'm surprised more teams haven't gone out of business by now, but it just, it is what it is. So I'll move on. We've got a lot to get through and stuff, but let's talk about the Championship. So obviously you got Coventry and Ipswich going straight back to the Premier League. I don't know if you've been watching much about the Spygate situation.
Yeah.
There was a picture. I was going to clip it up. I don't know if you've seen the picture of the guy in the bush with the iPhone.
I saw all the fans came to the game. You see that the Borough fans
in the trees. So the guy, I'll just recreate it here. I'll do like a Phoenix from the Flames recreation. There was a tree, a bloke, and an iPhone, and he stood like that taking pictures of the team training. And there's talk now that they're going to potentially delay the playoff final. There's talk now that they could even suspend Southampton from the final, and maybe Hull get the automatic spot to go up. If, let's say, they suspend Southampton, right, for whatever reason, they spied on a game and blah 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 blah, who do you put in the final? Or would you just say, okay, Hull, you're going to go up without playing a game, you're going to buy?
I mean, I think the whole reason this came about was Steve Gibson, the Middlesbrough chairman, lobbied for it, right? And then he's trying to provide some form of evidence that this isn't just isolated to this one game or this one club. So
it's coincidental that they went Southampton went on one of the best runs.
Oh yeah, it's incredible
in the Football League. There was a stat as well that I shared a couple of weeks ago. In January, Southampton were below Leicester in the league.
Yeah,
and now one's almost got automatic promotion, and one's been relegated.
Right? So you look at outside the league as well. The FA Cup run they went on, they got to the semi-finals.
Yeah, and could have beat Arsenal. They could have beat Arsenal. So that was it was such a close game and stuff. So can they prove it in the next couple of days? I think that game's next Saturday, right? Or is it bank holiday weekend?
It's supposed to be. I think personally what will happen, and this is just my take on it, I think Borough might get elevated to the final.
Right.
Because I think that the revenue obviously the final brings, they won't want to give that up. It's a day out of Wembley for the fans. So I think that will probably happen. That'll be my guess based on what I'm hearing. But at the same time, you have no idea what direction it's going to go in, because if they do elevate Borough to a final, then, and if it goes deeper than that, then our other club's going to
Wrexham going to complain, because Wrexham finished 7th in the league, and Derby, those teams that missed out on the playoffs based on the fact that someone took the spot. And like you say, it's like you can't delay the game, right, because of the fans and the season and the World Cup, because there's players on these teams that will be going to go to the World Cup this summer. The fans, you can't delay it. It's always got to be on that day and everything. So if you do cancel one, Southampton are obviously going to be appealing. Then how quick can they get the appeal done? It's a really, really messed up situation.
But like you said, they're opening up a can of worms then, because if they did go down the side of putting Borough into the final, then like you said, Wrexham going to then lobby because they lost their spot to a team that was ineligible to be in that spot in the first place. And then it could even go deeper than that too, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. There's
going to be a fine, some way, shape, or form.
I think for them to save face, the best way around it right now would just be to give them a huge fine and just move on. Because if they did elevate Borough into the final, then they could be opening up a can of worms.
There's an appeal, and I think the one thing that is happening in English football at the minute, there's so much controversy with referees and officials and, match allegations and all this kind of stuff going on about it. It's the last thing. I know the Football League is a little bit separate from the Premier League, but it's just bad publicity for English football at the minute.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're trying to numb that down. All right, let's keep the controversial stuff going and stuff. So last weekend, the big controversy from last weekend was the fun that happened at what's it called now? The City of London Stadium.
Yep.
Is that what they call this wonderful stadium?
The toilet bowl, right?
So you had this situation. You had this situation in the game where you've got, obviously, was this like the last minute of the game? It was in injury time, wasn't it? It's deep into injury time. It's a clear foul on the keeper, right? I don't think we're denying that. I don't think we're denying that it's a foul on the keeper. It's there for everybody to see. The argument is, for me, and in my take on this, is there was also 4 or 5 fouls happening at the same time. Gareth, you work in the game of football now. I've not been involved in it for a few years and stuff. What should be done? No, I'll strip that back. What is the official way of what refs should do with it? How should they deal with it? Does one foul cancel out another foul? Should they take the first foul that happened in the sequence? Or what, from an official point of view, is what is the correct way of this should be kind of refereed?
I mean, it's $1 million question, right? I think nobody really knows. It's very subjective, game by game. I think it should be sequential because one thing leads to another, like we saw at the weekend. So I think if they're looking at something, they should look at the whole picture and take it in order of merit. If this is I think they do it sometimes in games where you'll see a foul, right? A player goes down in the box, but then an offside occurred that led to that play. So then there's no penalty. It's an offside. So that's like when they do it sequentially. I think that's how it should be done, personally.
It's just a mess.
No one knows.
It's a mess right now. The thing that I think irks a lot of fans off is it Mike Dean or one of the refs made a comment the other weekend about refs are scared now of making a decision on the field. They're scared of making a decision on the field. So they go to VAR. VAR is bringing them over, and that VAR are telling them to look at something that's happened. And I think when they're saying, look at this that's happened, they're not allowed to look at everything else or anything else that's happened. So that's probably happened. Oh, just to go back to Heavy Kev as well. Please don't let Middlesbrough anywhere near the EPL. I don't need the aggro. So Kev's a friend of ours in New Zealand, a big Crystal Palace fan. His wife's from Middlesbrough. So that's why he probably doesn't want to get involved in that kind of side of things. So to my point is that the fourth official VAR is saying, look at the foul on the goalkeeper. So all the ref is doing when he goes over to the video is he's looking for a foul on the goalkeeper. He can probably see Ben White was tugging somebody, Declan Rice was tugging somebody. There's other fouls happening on both teams. Let's not sugarcoat it. But all he's been told to do is make sure there's a foul on the keeper. Clearly the arm's across the keeper. It's a foul on the keeper. He's blown the whistle and he's given it and stuff. That's what pisses a lot of fans off. The other thing that pisses a lot of fans off is he can't make that decision on the pitch. One of the things we talked about a couple of weeks ago on one of our World Cup Wednesday shows was, you remember in 2002 at the World Cup when they said, we have to give penalties for people pulling and tugging in the box. And it was the first time in a World Cup where there was 3 or 4 penalties. I think the Koreans had one against Spain where we're waiting to take a corner.
The Italians had that dead tight Kappa uniform so they couldn't get tugged. It
was a beauty, wasn't it? Nice and huggy. I mean, that took some time to get off after 90 minutes.
Yeah, so that's when dads couldn't buy the replica shirts anymore, right?
Dad bods. No, we stick to the 90s retro ones. So you had situations where corners being waited to be took or free kicks, and refs were giving fouls either for the defenders or for the attackers based on shirt pulling. They've let it go on so much now that they almost like it's like they ignore it. Yeah. And they're just looking for a foul on the keeper because the keepers get the presence on stuff and it blows away and stuff. The crazy thing, and again, it comes into the light of everything, is that one result pretty much to me gets Arsenal over the line to win the league.
Yeah, it does.
Because if that's a draw, it just puts, it just changes everything. It literally changes everything.
Draw, Man City would be top on goal difference right now. Yeah. Right? The case? Yeah. So it's a huge momentum shift, psychological shift.
And you know what, the argument, it's tricky at the minute because obviously Man City are in the FA Cup final this weekend, so the games change and everything. But the thing that really irks me a little bit, I should have a thing Chris's irks, is how all these games now are at different time points. And it's so nice when the games are head to head. You know, Gary and I watched the championship last weekend of the championship where all the games go at the same time.
Yeah.
And you know, you got one on your phone, you got one on the TV, you got the other one on your laptop, and you're like, and it's just backwards and forwards. And I think that last day of the season, that top six changed places.
Oh
like
yeah, there
four or
was so
five
much
times.
happening. One team would drop out, one team would drop in. I think there was
kind of like it loses it for me when you play first and we play second, and
yeah,
you almost want that head to head of it. But that result now changes the whole season. Now, if that happens first game of the season, it's swept under the rug. It was a referee error or a misjudgment or whatever, and the season carries on. Now, that if Arsenal go on to win the league, people will look back and be like, it'll be that decision that literally gave Arsenal to win the league. As crazy as that sounds,
yeah, it was. I can imagine Pep Guardiola in his living room, like throwing the remote control around and kicking his dog, right, when he saw that goal disallowed.
So the other VAR I want to talk about, and we don't really talk about the Scottish League much, but they do play football up there. This is another big one that happened Wednesday night in the game for Celtic, where it's literally the last minute of the game. If Celtic draw that game, pretty much Hearts are handed the title, because then Celtic would have to beat Hearts by 3 or 4 goals in the last game of the season. Now they've just got to, I think, draw or beat them and they win the league.
Yeah.
So it just changes everything. And that was in the 97th minute of injury time and stuff. And the argument is, you can see there the ball hits his hand.
Oh yeah.
His hand is in a natural position. Now he actually heads the ball through his hand, but his hand's in a natural position. It hits his hand. For me, that's a penalty.
Yeah.
I want Hearts to win the league. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We are a neutral show. I know we follow teams and stuff, but it'd be nice for Hearts to win the league. Not done it in 66 years. Now, when people think about the Scottish season, and Celtic will probably win it now, that's what people are going to be looking at and reminding them of. That was what basically won them the league. So Kev's made this point before. Watched tons of rugby league, cricket. No issues with video refs in those games. Football is doing something wrong. I completely agree with you. I know Gareth and I are both old enough to remember rugby and cricket before Hawkeye came into place and before rugby refs had the technology and stuff. The argument is the technology has been there for forever. We just don't have the right people that are looking at the right things to make the right decisions. That's my personal take on it.
I mean, who are the guys that are in these VR booths? Like, what's their background and experience that puts them in that position to make such important decisions? I never understood that. I listen to Talk Sport a lot when I'm on the road, and they always say you should have ex-players in there that understand certain things about the game that maybe we don't. Like with your hands, like obviously what's natural, what's unnatural. An ex-player is going to know that, right? I think because things are slowing down so much now, it just looks very, very different. Whereas again, these guys understand, the momentum in a game and what led to something a bit better than whoever these Joeys are in the VAR room.
And I think the challenge has been, since VAR's come in, the rules haven't really changed, but it feels as a fan that the rules are completely different than they were 10, 15 years ago, just because they're now confused. And it's like, you've lost that kind of, when there's a goal scored, it's almost like you don't necessarily jump out your seat and go crazy and wild anymore, because the first thing you do is you're waiting for that little box to come in the screen saying VAR checking and stuff. And the one thing they've got right, I think, this year is they do have the refs do talk to the crowds and they explain the results.
Right. But
it's the time it takes. And fuck me, if I have to watch another game where I have to watch another 15, 20 minutes of injury time, it just, sorry for swearing, people, but it blows my mind. My suggestion, I know they're changing some rules for the World Cup this year, is like rugby. I'll go back to rugby, Kev. One of the things I think they should do for the rugby side of things is they should have, for football, the ref should have the ability to start and stop the clock. If there's a serious foul that's gone down and he wants to stop the game, he'll just say, stop the clock, start the clock. Then people can do whatever they want, that kind of side of things. One of the things we talked a couple of weeks ago was this new goalkeeper timeout rule that's coming into place, where the goalkeepers feign an injury, and then all of a sudden the trainee comes on, deals with the keeper. and the other 10 players are in the technical area speaking to the manager. That's something they have to stop. Chelsea have done it a few times lately where, especially towards the end of the game, they call it the goalkeeper timeout, and they've got to figure out ways of keeping the game going. But these games now, I mean, gone are the 3, 4, 5 minutes of injury time.
Yeah.
We're seeing like obscene amounts of injury time coming through and all that kind of side of things. So, guys, I got to ask you then, you think West Ham are going to go down?
I mean,
and no bias, no biased.
It's a tough one because obviously I've been watching their games a lot more closer than what I normally would because their results obviously impact our position in the league, and they've been playing really well. I mean, they played exceptionally well against Arsenal. I thought the Brentford game, they had a lot of chances in that first half. I thought they played well in probably the last 5 or 6 games. That concerns me. And they're up for the fight, right? When you watch them play, they're up for the fight. And the next 2 games they have are somewhat favorable for them. I'm not sure what Newcastle they're going to get at the weekend. And then Leeds, end of the season, who are safe. Again, are they going to be up for the fight as well? So I can see him getting something out of the next 2 games. What, I don't know. We have to just match it. So listen, we got Chelsea at the Bridge. They're always, lively games, and they're going to want us to go down more than anybody.
They want to be the team that says there'll be a song they make up about it. We sent Tottenham down or something like that. The one thing I've got a lot of time for Nuno. He worked wonders at Forest last year, and he's a fantastic coach. Spurs will probably have him back tomorrow.
Yeah, he's a nice guy too.
If the chance would come on. The challenge he had at West Ham is they just don't have anyone that can score goals. They play really good football. Jarrod Bowen's a great player, but he's not going to get you 20 goals a season or 15 goals a season. So if you look at the stats, there's only Burnley and Wolves that have conceded more goals, but there's only Burnley, Wolves, Palace, sorry to mention that, Kev, Palace and Sunderland that have scored less goals. So again, if you want to get out of that relegation fight, you can concede goals, but you've got to be able to score goals. Yeah. And West Ham have had a lot of 0-0s and they've lost a lot of 1-0 games because they've not had the players that can score the goals. And Nuno sets his teams up very, very well. He did it at Forest. I don't know much about Spurs, but he never set up his teams to draw. Even when we were playing, Liverpool's or the Arsenals or, teams that you'd think would come and roll over Forest away from home. At Liverpool, we beat Liverpool 2-0 at their place one year because he set the team up to win the game of football. I just think personally with the fixtures that they go in and stuff, I think we just run out of games now. And I think that you've got obviously the points is one thing. That goal difference is an extra point. Yeah. It literally is an extra point. So
if they lose against Newcastle and we get a point against Chelsea, then I think we're as good as safe. Yeah. I can't see a 10-goal swing on the last game of the season. I can't see that happening. So for us, going into that game against Chelsea, a point could potentially be all we need if Newcastle turn up and get.
You don't know Newcastle. You don't know what Newcastle you're going to get.
You don't. I mean, I'd like to think last home game of the season, you've got players there that are probably playing their last game. I would imagine Tonali is going to leave, maybe Guimaraes as well. Who knows about Eddie Howe? But
I think Eddie Howe's had his time there. I think he's had his time there. And the challenge you've got with Newcastle is in the summer, you're going to have a lot of players that want to leave, that maybe they've given what they've considered their tenure. They've done 2 or 3 years at the club. The club's not really progressed when they first came in, what they thought they would kick on with. Yeah. And they're now ready to move on to have a challenge somewhere else, whether that's in Europe or whether that's at one of the so-called Big Six teams. And I think the question mark's going to be out under Eddie Howe, unfortunately. I think he's a fantastic manager, but he hasn't delivered. He hasn't done, FA Cup, blah, blah, blah. Fans and teams and owners of teams, as shitty as it sounds, it's all about the top 4, top 5 finish. You can throw a trophy or a cup in every now and again. That's great. You can have one season where you have a bit of a wobble. Next season, you best be back up there. Otherwise, there's going to be all sorts.
Yeah, these guys have got bags of money. They're not in it, just to sit mid-table. They want to go win trophies. Yeah. If you can't deliver that, I think that they could make a change. So hopefully Eddie Howe's got a point to prove as well. and they'll get something out of the game. But my biggest fear, because of the 2-point gap and them playing first in the last couple of game weeks, is that if they win their game, we go into that Chelsea game in the relegation zone again. And that's not a good place
so
to
glad
be.
I'm not there. I'm so glad.
No, yeah, you guys went on a nice little run and pulled clear. And that result you got against us, I think, was what triggered your
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think that was nice that they kept Tudor for another day, another game, just to keep it going and stuff. And again, it's, when Pereira came into Forest, I was like, well, who is this guy? You always question managers that have failed at the last outing, that especially if they were like, a lower division side, and he did okay, but he tanked his last couple of games when he was there, and he come in and it was like, all right, well, maybe the owner sees something that we don't see. And he's been a breath of fresh air. I think we're now 9, maybe 10 league games undefeated. And it was just picking off points, win games where we can win games. But
yeah,
we played some fantastic football. Before Gibbs White got injured, it was unbelievable football. So let's talk about week 38. Predictions, Gareth. Let's go through. Obviously, tomorrow, Friday, Villa. Who do you think is good? Win, lose, or draw? Villa, Liverpool. Who are you going with?
I'm going to sit on the fence on that one and say a draw.
All right.
You want both teams to score.
United, Forest.
I think Forest nicked that.
I'm going to go for a draw in that one. I'll take either way. Brentford, Palace.
I think
Don't upset Heavy Kev. Don't upset Heavy Kev.
I'm going to say Brentford just because Palace, I think, have other things they're focusing on right now, which is that European final.
And beating City in the last game of the season, right? Just to be those guys. Everton, Sunderland.
Everton.
Leeds, Brighton.
I mean, Leeds played exceptionally well against Tottenham. I hadn't seen them play that much this season. I was quietly impressed with them. So I think Leeds get that done at home.
We've talked about Leeds quite a lot on the show, and they scrappily stayed up. Gaz has basically said they just get points here now and again, and they're just picking off the points, and they got themselves to stay up. Wolves, Fulham.
Gotta go Fulham. I can't see Wolves getting any more points.
Yeah, now especially, I don't know if you watched the little press conference with Rob Edwards in the week where they had a panel of fans and they're all like picking on him and the vice chairman or whatever he was. Newcastle, West Ham. That could be a pretty tasty Sunday tea time game in the UK.
I think that's going to be a draw. I think 1-1 again, both teams to score.
Monday Night Football, Arsenal, Burnley. For me, that's when the league gets decided, I think.
Yeah, I think Arsenal got that easy.
And then Tuesday, Bournemouth, City.
So I'm actually going to say Bournemouth win that. Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and go for Bournemouth. I think they're the M4 team right now, and maybe there might be some tired legs from the FA Cup over the weekend. So yeah, I think Bournemouth might get it. It's
a quick turnaround. Chelsea, Spurs. That's got to be the game of the week, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to go Spurs. I think they're going to get it done. That's definitely my heart, not my head saying that.
Chelsea, you don't know. I mean, that if you break it down, okay, they've just got rid of their manager. He was awful, but they are awful. Forest went there the other week, and I was like, I'll take a point. And we put the reserves out because we had the game against Villa, and we battered them. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we scored a couple of early goals, which changes any game, but we battered them. All right. Yeah. And that takes us into the next round and stuff like that. So I pulled it up, a little grid for everybody, got the shades back on, little picks of the week, shock of the week. Gareth's gone for Bournemouth. I'm going to be interested in that one, I guess. I tell you, I'm going to be pretty interested. That could be the title all over.
Yeah.
I went for West Ham. I just think something's happening at Newcastle. And I think West Ham have got one little scrap. I think they'll go down, but I honestly think that could be my shock of the week. Lock of the week, Arsenal. Yeah, it's hard to go against that. I messed this up, didn't I? So I've picked Newcastle and West Ham both winning.
How's that work?
That's why I'm here. That's why it's, Gary would have caught that, but it's okay. Game of the week, Gaz has got Spurs, Chelsea. I think that's going to be a fantastic game on Tuesday. And I think that Monday night football game at the Emirates, I think that's going to be the game we see the title basically decided from that kind of thing and everything else. All right, we're nearly getting towards the end. Have you liked it so far?
That's good, man. I enjoy it. I mean, listen, we're talking football, right? So not real bad.
Well, every week we do our Gary and Chris's proper dead hard Thursday quiz trivia. Gareth, I remember back in the day, you used to love a bit of quiz trivia. I know it's probably one of your favorite things. We all love a bit of quiz trivia. So what we're going to do is, here's how we do this. We were going to put the question up tonight. If you'd like to play after the show's gone, we'll clip this up. We'll put it onto our Instagram page. Put your questions in there, answers in there, and we'll announce the answers on next week's show. Only 4 teams in the 92 are yet to play at the new Wembley. Who are they? 4 teams in the Football League of 92 are yet to play at the new Wembley. Who are they? What can you remember what year the new Wembley opened? Like 20 something. I got no idea.
That one. Yeah, I can't think off the top of my head. I know
2006, 2007 was it? I always look at FA Cup games. George Michael did the first concert there. I do know that. Don't ask me how. I just know. Forrester played there, so we'll go from there. So that's this week's proper Dead Hard Thursday quiz trivia for you. Thank you, Ruby.
So it was 2007.
2007. Okay, so since 2007, there's 4 teams that are yet to play at the new Wembley. Now, the one thing that's going to throw you out is you're going to break it down. There's a lot of games that happen at Wembley now. You might just think FA Cup final, League Cup final, semi-finals of both those events. You've got, we were trying to think of what it was called earlier. It used to be the Auto Windscreens or the Johnson Paint Cup or whatever it is, the Mickey Mouse. I'm sure it's a really great trophy. Lower league trophy as well. You've got all the promotion playoff finals. There's a lot of teams that have played at Wembley and been to Wembley, but there's 4 that haven't. 2 which might surprise you a little bit as well. So it's pretty interesting to know.
Clues, you think? I mean, when you told me at the start of the show, I thought that was a tough one.
No clues. Gary doesn't have clues.
All right,
Gary doesn't have clues. I will say this though, Gary's not here, so we can slag him off. Gary's done a couple of these questions and they've been wrong. His answers have been wrong from the actual questions himself. So we'll put that out there. We'll put that to bed. He's not, he's busy tonight. He's working. So the answers are legit. We have certified them as being correct and stuff. So Kev, we'll talk about this more on next Wednesday's World Cup Wednesday show. Some of the squads that have come out. Well, I'm just mentioning it now. I was looking at the France squad earlier. I don't know if Mbappe's been involved in that, but Camavinga, Thuram, there was 4 or 5 players that you would have nailed on to be in that France squad. They ain't going. They ain't going this summer. So interesting. Kelly's watching. Mrs. Gary's watching. Mrs. Gary's always watching. Mrs. Gary's always watching. It's a show for you tonight, Cal. We could have brought you on and you could have talked Tottenham as well tonight and stuff. But I want to thank my host tonight. It goes quick, doesn't it, guys? It goes quick.
Yeah.
Just like the last 24 years have gone pretty quick as well.
Too quick.
You still look the same, though. You still look exactly the same.
I've got a few grays coming in, but yeah, I'm trying to stay young, man, but it's not hard. It's it's like when you got a little kid running around and life just takes over.
They'll do you. So I pulled this picture up. And the reason I pulled this picture up is I have to show it on another show because I didn't clip it up and stuff. I was there in January and I made my wife retake this picture. I'll send it to you afterwards. She retook this picture with me stood at the exact same spot, minus these 2 dickheads either side of me. But I reclipped that one.
You're on the left-hand side?
Smithy, yeah.
Yeah.
Smithy, he just got married and had a kid as well. So
really?
But you well, there's 3 old dads, I should say.
I have no idea why I got a backpack on.
Is that Gola backpack you used to wear everywhere?
Like a box of cereal and a fruit bowl in there for lunch or something.
Just in case you get caught short and that kind of stuff and stuff. Well, I want to say thank you, guys. I really appreciate you coming on tonight, chatting away. Hopefully, maybe come back again for another time soon. More than welcome to join us and stuff as well.
Yeah, hopefully next time we're talking, Spurs are safe and they're back in the Premier League and we're romping up the table, right?
You never know. All I know is that these boys will be in the Premier League next year. That's all that matters and stuff. What we got coming up? We've got one more Thursday preview show, round 38, which is next Thursday, 7:30. We could have a new Premier League champion by then. We could have all 3 teams relegated by then. We don't know, but that's why we're watching. That's why we care. We want to do it. If you like what you saw tonight, give us a follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, and all the other ones that all the kids like to get involved with and stuff. My name's Chris. I want to say thank you for watching the show tonight. That's been my old roommate, Gareth, looking as healthy as ever over there. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Cheers, guys.
I did it again. Hang on. I forgot how to do this. There's a way of, we're still live, but people are still watching because there's a way you push end, and it took me a few minutes to do it last night and stuff. But just talk amongst yourselves, play out.